tangent and just go and go and go. And I remember talking about that with my therapist pretty early on, working with this therapist, maybe in the second or third session. And I said, sometimes I just get tired of just listening to her going on and on and on about the same thing that I've already heard about. And she said, well, you don't have to listen. And I said, well, yes, you do. And she said, no, you don't. And I said, okay, wait a minute. It's carved in stone. And then this goes back to how my mother trained me. I said, it's carved in stone. If a woman wants to talk, you have to listen until she's done talking. That's the role of a guy. And she says, no, you don't. You can tell her you don't have time or you're not interested or whatever. And I said, really? You can do that? And she said, I said, say that to me one more time. I need to hear that again. And that was like earth-shattering information. Like I was in my 30s on my second marriage and had a PhD in marriage and family therapy. And so went home, and I don't know when it was. It might have been a few days or a few weeks after the fact. And I used to tell my ex-wife that her middle name ought to be Overreact, because that's what she tended to do in every situation. And I thought, man, if I tell her I'm not interested in listening, okay. But an opportunity arose, and she was just kind of going on and on and on about something. And I kind of, I wasn't completely honest. I kind of said, you know what, I'm just really beat from today. I'm tired. I said, I just don't have the energy to pay attention or focus on you right now. And she said, okay. So that's it. And I thought the roof was going to come off, and so I kind of went off and did something else. And she went and called a friend and talked to her for a while and came back later on. And this is what really blew me away. And she said, thank you. Thank you for telling me that you weren't available or didn't have the energy to listen right then. I went and called my friend, talked to her. I'm good. Thank you for telling me that you weren't available. I'd rather you do that than pretend to listen when you're not. I thought,
yes.
Wow, that's amazing. Me just telling the truth, being real, being honest, not only didn't have a negative impact, it created a very positive impact in that my then wife came back and said, thank you for telling me that. I appreciate that.
So I would say probably that's a good story for the generality to exercise your right to say no, whether it's to listening or anything else.
And that is so difficult for nice guys to say no. In fact, I've got a class that I teach called Nice Guys Don't Finish Last, They Rot in Middle Management. And it's about nice guys in the workplace. And one assignment I give without fail every time I teach the course is that the men in the course, and women can take it too, so the men and the women in the course, over a period of a week, 3 times a day, have to say no to a legitimate request without defending or explaining themselves, just to practice saying no, because that is maybe one of the most difficult things for a nice guy or a nice girl to do. And it is so empowering, and it actually gives relationships a chance to be a lot healthier, because then you're not doing things you didn't really want to do, you're not building up resentments, you're not becoming passive aggressive, it doesn't lead to what I call a victim puke, or you've been saying yes so many times and finally, one too many times, and now you're puking about all these times you've said yes and you really didn't want to, and the other person's going, huh? What just happened here? So yes, saying no is so powerful and empowering, and invites people actually to get closer to us because we're real.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. So you alluded to the, sociological perspective, what we call the feminization of males in our society, so being influenced by women. So where is this middle ground, Dr. Glover? Because then you hear this story, the nice guy syndrome, and then you hear other stories of women saying, my husband won't lift a finger, I ask him to do something, he gets angry if I ask him to do something in the house. What's the middle ground?
Well, I'm actually not a big fan of middle ground, and I'll explain that, then I'll answer your question, at least how I perceive it. I tell people, like, for examples, when somebody says, okay, I understand that being a nice guy doesn't work very well, but I don't want to be a jerk. Can you tell me where, the middle ground is? And I said, no. I said, I don't know where the tipping point is between 2 dysfunctional extremes. Being a nice guy is dysfunctional. Being an ego-centered, passive, self-centered jerk is toxic, right? So there's not actually a middle ground there. And I talk about kind of moving up to another level that requires consciousness, that requires both men and women being more conscious and aware of themselves, who they are, of each other. And for example, after I got divorced in my late 40s from my second marriage, and then started dating for the first time really since college, and I hadn't done it very well, so I decided I had to learn how to date more effectively. And then as I dated for a while, started getting into some relationships, I learned that being just more clear and transparent and upfront was really helpful in a relationship as I got to know women. And one thing I started doing, and maybe this can kind of help illustrate or answer your question, one of the things I started doing after I dated a woman, if we'd gone out on maybe 4 or 5, 6 dates, and it looked like we're going to keep seeing each other, and I would actually tell them, sometimes after a second date, if it looked like, hey, this looks like it has potential, I would say, here, if we keep seeing each other, here's what you can expect from me. I'd say, number one, I will be conscious. I will pay attention to me. I will pay attention to you. I will pay attention to us. I will be paying attention. I won't be asleep. I won't leave it up to you to have to bring things up, to have to deal with issues. I will be conscious. Number two, I will be honest. I will tell you the truth. Everything I tell you will be completely true. I will not leave anything out. I will not shade anything. I will be completely honest with you. Number three, I will be transparent with you. You will never have to guess what I'm thinking, what I'm feeling, what I want, where I'm going, what I want from you, what I don't like. You will know. And I will communicate that with love and with clarity. I won't leave you guessing. And I said, number four, I will set the tone and take the lead. I said, I don't want to control you. I don't want to manage anything. But I say, I'll show up with a plan. I won't say, what do you want to do tonight? Do you want to do this? I'll show up with a plan. I'll invite you to join me. And if it works for you, great. If you have other ideas, share them. We'll figure it out as we go. But I said, I will set the tone and lead. And my experience with a few women that I did that with, not only said it, but then did that with them, it kind of surprised me how every one of them said the same thing. They said, I've never experienced this before. I've never had a man be that way. And they all said, you need to write another book to tell men what you're doing, because this is amazing. This is different. And
this works. I like it. Yes.
Just those four things was transformational in terms of the women that I dated. They'd never experienced anything like that.
Yes, and I would say, when you say take the lead, I like the idea of people sharing leadership depending upon the situation. In other words, we're all leaders with a small L, our own leader, and we can lead our own life. And in terms of leading others, that's a little different story. I would use the term initiative. I will take the initiative. I will initiate.
And that's a great term. And what I tell guys, when I do talk with nice guys about what I just shared with you, what they often then repeat is, okay, I hear you say that I need to take control. I go, no, I never used that word. And that's what people tend to hear, is take control. But I tell them, I don't want you to control anything. Control yourself. That's all you have control over. Control yourself. And it really is nothing more than paying attention, showing up with a plan. And I tell men that this actually creates reciprocity in relationship. If the man, for example, always says, what do you want to do? Would you like to do something? Would you like to do this? In my experience, both as a man in a relationship and a man working with relationships, men and women, is that women tend to report to me that feels burdening to them. For the man to always say, what do you want to do? Do you want to go out tonight? But when the man actually has an idea, it creates a reciprocal relationship, because the woman can say, that actually doesn't work for me, or I wasn't in the mood for that. How about this? And the guy, then they're a team. They're working together. And they can trade that role back and forth of setting the tone and leading. But for me, I communicate that way because the nice guys I work with tend to be so passive in every part of it. And they actually think that if they show up with a plan, the woman's going to think they're a controlling jerk. But the truth is, the woman is usually thinking, oh, great, I don't have to make all the decisions here.
I couldn't agree more, Dr. Glover, because I also do human relations training in the corporate world, and I teach assertiveness training to middle managers, lots of men who are not assertive. And you wonder, how could this have happened? So the idea of speaking up, saying no, and I think the best word of what you are talking about is propose. We propose marriage. We propose a movie date. We propose. We give a proposal, and the woman can say yay or nay, but we propose. You know what's so interesting? That word came to me as you were talking. I don't think we ever use that word to describe men except when they propose marriage. But you are talking about proposal. Yes.
Yeah, because again, it's not at all controlling. Because
it isn't.
Again, I don't want to control anybody. I don't want to teach anybody to control anybody. And unless a person is really very immature, they don't want to be controlled either. But I like that, to propose. Hey, how about we go do this? It's a proposal. And the other person, whoever this happens to be, and either person, or as you said, even in the corporate world, doesn't matter who's making the proposal. We're just floating a proposal. Hey, we got a place to start. And like I said, the term I often use is just getting the ball rolling. It isn't like, okay, here's what we have to do. Here's what this is the only thing I'm interested in. No, it's a proposal. I love that.
Yeah, and I think if you're as you lecture, I know for myself as a colleague and a woman, to hear set the tone, make proposals. I propose versus I take the lead, and then I think you'd get a lot less resistance. And you're making a very, very important point, Dr. Glover. And I have to say, I can't believe this show is at an end. I hope you come back again. Will you come back to WHPC?
Dr. Duffy, I hope you'll invite me back again. I thoroughly enjoyed our time, and you're right, we just barely got started. Oh, boy. Well, I'm definitely having you back, Dr. Robert Glover, author of No More Mr. Nice Guy. Get this book. I am recommending it to all of my clients, both women and men. Okay, and this is Dr. Duffy Spencer saying goodbye for now and wishing you great relationships.